The night had settled over the city like a soft, dark blanket, with streetlights casting golden reflections on the windows. Emma sat on the edge of the couch, her hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea, feeling the quiet hum of the apartment around her. Outside, the city buzzed faintly, a reminder of life moving fast, while inside, time seemed to slow. She glanced at Daniel, her husband, who was pacing near the window, his gaze fixed on the city skyline. There was a tension in the air, a kind of nervous excitement that she couldn't quite place. "You really think this is a good idea?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Daniel turned to her with a soft smile, the kind that made her heart flutter despite her nerves. "I think it will be fun," he said simply, though his eyes carried a hint of something deeper, something she couldn't yet define. A night different from the usual. Something to break the routine. Emma raised an eyebrow, unsure. The something different he referred to was a meeting with a younger couple, Sarah and Luke, whom they had met at a gallery opening a few weeks ago. They were full of life, laughter, and energy, the kind that made Emma feel both curious and slightly intimidated. When Sarah had casually invited them over for drinks and conversation, Daniel had agreed immediately, full of enthusiasm. Emma had hesitated, worrying whether it was appropriate or even necessary. But here they were, standing on the edge of an evening that promised unpredictability. The doorbell rang, sharp and sudden, cutting through the quiet of the apartment. Emma's stomach twisted in anticipation as she hurried to the door. Standing there were Sarah and Luke, smiling warmly, their eyes sparkling with a mix of mischief and friendliness. Sarah's grin was infectious, her energy immediately filling the small space, while Luke's easy charm made Emma feel a flutter of excitement she hadn't realized she missed. The two younger people carried themselves with a confidence and openness that was refreshing, a reminder of the kind of unrestrained joy that comes with youth. "Hi," Sarah said brightly, stepping inside and shaking off the cool night air. Luke followed, giving Emma and Daniel a firm but friendly handshake. Their presence brought a rush of energy to the apartment, and Emma felt her nervousness easing slightly. As they moved to the living room, Daniel offered drinks, and the four of them settled into comfortable chairs and couches, the initial awkwardness giving way to laughter. Conversations started casually, stories unfolding about their lives, their careers, their ambitions, and the small moments that shaped them. Emma found herself drawn into Luke's stories of his recent travels, the humor and thrill in his voice making her laugh more freely than she had in months. Sarah shared stories of her career and her small triumphs, the sparkle in her eyes infectious. She had a way of speaking that made Emma remember the passion she and Daniel had once shared when they were younger. It wasn't just the stories that captivated her, it was the way Sarah and Luke interacted with each other. The easy playfulness, the shared glances, the teasing that didn't feel forced but natural. It reminded Emma of the kind of love that felt alive and spontaneous, the kind that could make ordinary moments feel extraordinary. Daniel leaned back in his chair, watching Emma and Sarah exchange laughs. He felt a quiet satisfaction, a sense that this evening might be more meaningful than he had first anticipated. It wasn't just about spending time with a younger couple. It was about rediscovering parts of themselves that had been dormant, parts of their own relationship that needed a spark. Emma caught his gaze across the room and felt a rush of warmth, a quiet acknowledgement that this night could change something subtle but important between them. The conversation shifted naturally to memories, childhood experiences, past adventures, and the little regrets everyone carried. Emma found herself opening up more than she expected, sharing stories she hadn't told anyone in years and listening to Sarah's enthusiastic encouragement. Luke's laughter punctuated each tale, making the room feel alive, making Emma realize how much she had missed the simple joy of being fully present in the company of others. She glanced at Daniel and saw the same soft smile she had fallen in love with all those years ago, the same quiet appreciation for connection that had always defined him. As the night deepened, Daniel suggested they move to the rooftop terrace. The idea was spontaneous, and Emma felt a thrill as they followed him up the narrow stairs, stepping out into the crisp night air. The city lights stretched out before them, a sprawling map of glittering life. The terrace was small but cozy, and for a moment, the four of them stood quietly, letting the sounds of the city fill the space between words. It was peaceful, almost magical, and Emma felt a sense of anticipation she hadn't experienced in years. Sarah leaned against the railing, her hair catching the faint glow of the streetlights below. "It's beautiful up here," she said softly. Luke nodded, the city reflected in his eyes. Emma and Daniel joined them, standing side by side, letting the gentle breeze brush against their faces. The conversation continued, quieter now, filled with soft laughter and meaningful glances. It wasn't just about talking anymore. It was about presence, the subtle intimacy of shared experience. Emma realized that something rare and precious was unfolding. Daniel reached out, brushing a loose strand of hair from Emma's face, and she felt her heart skip. There was a tenderness in the gesture, a quiet acknowledgement of the bond they had nurtured over the years. Emma turned to Sarah, who smiled, knowingly, as if sensing the layers of emotion in the older couple. "It's nice," Sarah whispered, "to see couples still finding magic in small moments." Emma's breath caught. Magic. That word carried weight, stirring a longing she had almost forgotten. A reminder of the passion and excitement that had once defined her relationship with Daniel. The rooftop became their sanctuary for the evening. Laughter and conversation mixed with the distant sounds of the city, creating a backdrop that felt intimate and alive. Emma noticed the way Luke would glance at Sarah, a small, knowing look that spoke of shared memories and mutual understanding. It reminded her of the quiet, enduring moments she shared with Daniel. The moments that didn't require words but spoke volumes about love, trust, and connection. Hours passed unnoticed. Glasses were refilled, stories shared, and memories revisited. Emma felt herself relaxing in a way she hadn't for months. There was no pressure, no expectation, just the joy of being fully present, of experiencing a night that seemed to exist outside of ordinary time. Daniel's hand rested lightly on her back, grounding her, and she felt a wave of gratitude for him and for this unexpected evening. Then, just as the city seemed to cocoon them in warmth, Daniel's phone buzzed sharply. "Okay." He checked it, his brow furrowing slightly, a shadow crossing his face for the first time that evening. Emma felt a flicker of unease, her earlier sense of magic now tinged with curiosity and apprehension. "What is it?" she asked, her voice soft but probing. Daniel met her gaze, his expression unreadable for a moment. "It's nothing serious," he said, though the hesitation in his tone suggested otherwise. "It's just something I need to handle quickly. Don't worry." He handed her a reassuring smile, but Emma could feel the subtle tension. The night, which had flowed so easily, now carried the sense that there were layers yet to be uncovered, questions yet to be asked. Emma looked at Sarah and Luke, who seemed blissfully unaware of the interruption. Sarah's bright smile met hers, and Emma returned it, forcing a laugh. Yet in that moment, she understood something important. The night had shifted. It was no longer just about fun or conversation. It had become a delicate mix of curiosity, longing, and the subtle thrill of discovery. There was something about sharing this space, these stories, and these moments with a younger couple that had awakened feelings Emma hadn't realized were dormant. As Daniel stepped away to make a quick call, Emma and Sarah lingered near the railing, watching the city lights flicker. "You seem thoughtful," Sarah said gently. Emma smiled faintly, unsure how to explain the swirl of emotions inside her. "Just thinking how strange life can be," she said. "One moment you feel settled, and the next, something comes along that reminds you of possibilities." Sarah nodded, understanding more than Emma expected. "Exactly," she said. "It's nights like these that make you remember who you are, or who you used to be." Emma felt the words sink in, a quiet acknowledgement that she and Daniel were rediscovering not just their own connection, but a spark of the life and excitement that had always been theirs. The air was thick with the quiet magic of the evening. Laughter resumed, softer now, interspersed with comfortable silences. Emma realized that the younger couple's energy had awakened something tender and playful in them. A gentle reminder that joy could be rediscovered at any stage of life. The rooftop, the city, the shared stories, they all blended into a night that promised more than casual fun. There was intimacy here, not the kind that demanded words, but the kind that existed in presence. In shared smiles and in the recognition of life's fleeting beauty. As the night wore on, Emma felt a growing sense of anticipation. This was more than just a casual visit. It was a gentle, unspoken invitation to explore emotions, to reconnect with herself and with Daniel, and to experience something that felt simultaneously familiar and entirely new. Daniel returned from the brief call, slipping back onto the terrace with a calm smile. But Emma could sense the faint tension lingering in his eyes. She gave him a small nod, a silent question, but he shook his head slightly, reassuring her without words. The city spread beneath them like a glittering map of possibilities. Each light a tiny pulse of life, each street below humming with stories they would never know. Emma felt her heart lighten, realizing that, despite the momentary unease, the night still held its magic. Sarah, noticing Emma's gaze at the skyline, stepped closer. "It's amazing how peaceful it feels up here," she said softly. Emma smiled, turning to face her. There was a warmth in Sarah's tone, a subtle invitation to share feelings and thoughts without judgment. "Yes," Emma replied. "It's like we're above the world, but still part of it at the same time." The words came easily, a rare honesty that surprised her. Moments like this reminded her that life had a rhythm beyond routines. That quiet wonder existed in small experiences, waiting to be noticed. Luke leaned on the railing beside Sarah, his posture relaxed but his presence commanding. He glanced at Emma and Daniel, then back at the city, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Sometimes," he said, "it's the unexpected nights, the ones you didn't plan, that stay with you the longest." Emma nodded, feeling the truth of that statement. The evening had started with curiosity, a simple social invitation, but it had evolved into something far deeper, a connection that crossed generations and expectations. A night that reminded them all of who they were beneath the layers of daily life. Daniel reached for Emma's hand, a gentle touch that made her pulse quicken. It wasn't the thrill of something forbidden or dramatic. It was the quiet, steady reminder that he was there, sharing this moment, supporting her, and embracing the joy that had unexpectedly found them. "I'm glad we did this," he whispered. Emma squeezed his hand, her heart full of affection. She realized that the night wasn't just about laughter or novelty, was about rediscovery. It was about seeing each other anew, remembering the spark that had drawn them together, and appreciating the layers of love they had built over the years. Sarah leaned slightly closer to Emma, as if sensing the unspoken thoughts swirling between her and Daniel. "It's nice," she said, her voice low, "to be around people who still notice the little things, who still see the magic in moments." Emma felt a soft smile spread across her face. There was a recognition in Sarah's words, a validation that life didn't lose its wonder with AGIT transformed, deepened, and took on subtler, richer tones. Luke joined them, resting an elbow on the railing. "It's interesting," he said, "how you meet people and suddenly you remember parts of yourself you thought were gone. Parts that make you feel alive again." Emma felt a shiver of acknowledgement. That was exactly what this night was doing for her and Daniel. It wasn't youth or novelty alone, it was the reminder that connection, laughter, and curiosity could be found at any age. It could be rekindled, nurtured, and celebrated. The four of them shared a quiet moment, letting the city lights and the gentle night wind fill the silence. Emma looked at Sarah and Luke, noticing the way they interacted, the effortless understanding, the ease of conversation, the subtle cues of care and respect. It reminded her of her own bond with Daniel, of the quiet depth and strength that had been cultivated over decades. Seeing the younger couple's energy reflected back at them made Emma feel both nostalgic and inspired. She realized that love and joy were not confined to a single stage of life. They were evolving, layered and ever-present, waiting for attention. Daniel shifted slightly, brushing a stray strand of hair from Emma's face. The gesture was tender, grounding, and Emma felt a rush of warmth. The simple intimacy of touch, paired with the shared laughter and conversation from earlier, created a sense of closeness she hadn't expected at the start of the evening. The night had already given them memories to treasure, but now it offered a gentle, emotional intimacy that words alone couldn't capture. The conversation moved naturally to dreams and hopes. Sarah spoke about her ambitions with infectious enthusiasm, and Luke shared stories of places he wanted to visit, experiences he wanted to pursue. Emma and Daniel listened, contributing quietly but meaningfully. Realizing that the exchange of ideas and perspectives was more than casual, it was a bridge between generations, a shared human experience that transcended age. They laughed together, debated gently, and supported each other's thoughts, creating an environment where openness and vulnerability felt safe. Emma found herself reflecting on the past, on moments of longing and disappointment, but also on triumph and growth. She realized that the younger couple's presence had a way of amplifying emotions, not in a dramatic sense, but by making her aware of them. The night had peeled back layers of routine and caution, revealing the playful, passionate, and curious sides of herself and Daniel that rarely saw the light of day. It was a reminder that life's richness came not only from what we achieved, but from the moments we shared, the bonds we nurtured, and the openness we allowed ourselves to feel as the terrace grew cooler. Sarah wrapped a light scarf around her shoulders, and Emma noticed how natural and confident she looked. Luke's eyes met hers briefly, a silent acknowledgement of the shared energy and understanding that had grown over the evening. There was no jealousy or competition, only mutual respect and a recognition of connection in its purest form. Emma felt grateful for this dynamic, this opportunity to witness relationships in a way that was reflective, inspiring, and entirely human. Daniel suggested they take a short walk along the terrace, moving closer to the edge to look down at the twinkling streets below. The city looked alive in a quiet, magical way, each light like a heartbeat, each movement a story. Emma felt a thrill of excitement, not from danger or adventure, but from the realization that life could still surprise and delight them. She glanced at Daniel, noticing the gentle pride in his posture, the subtle joy in his eyes. The younger couple followed, matching their pace, and for a moment, the four of them moved in harmony, united by presence, laughter, and curiosity. Emma felt a surge of emotion she couldn't quite name, nostalgia mixed with anticipation, joy blended with longing. The night had started as something casual, a simple visit, and now it felt like an exploration of self, of love, and of life's hidden possibilities. Daniel's hand found hers again, fingers intertwining, a silent reminder that she was not alone in feeling this. The warmth of their bond contrasted beautifully with the energetic, youthful presence of Sarah and Luke, creating a balance that made Emma feel both grounded and inspired. They paused at the terrace's corner, overlooking a quiet street. The wind was cool, carrying the distant sounds of the city. Sarah leaned slightly closer to Emma, her voice soft. "You seem reflective tonight," she said. Emma laughed lightly, brushing a hand through her hair. "I guess I'm realizing how much life still has to offer," she admitted. "Even when you think you've settled, something unexpected comes along and reminds you of possibilities." Sarah nodded knowingly, a faint smile on her lips, as if she understood the unspoken emotions perfectly. Luke added, "Moments like these are rare. Nights that make you pause, look around, and feel everything at once. They don't happen often, but when they do, you remember them forever." Emma felt the truth of that statement resonate deeply within her. This night was one of those moments, a rare convergence of presence, connection, and awareness that life was full of surprises and hidden joy. The conversation drifted back to lighter topics, jokes and playful teasing, creating an easy rhythm. Laughter returned, unrestrained and genuine, as if the night itself encouraged openness. Daniel and Emma found themselves more relaxed than they had in months, caught up in a sense of shared discovery that was both exhilarating and comforting. The younger couple's energy had acted as a catalyst, bringing them closer together while also reminding them of the beauty of openness and curiosity. As midnight approached, the group realized how quickly the hours had passed. The city, once distant and intimidating in its vastness, now felt intimate, almost protective, as if it had conspired to create the perfect night. Emma felt a subtle shift within herself, a combination of contentment, gratitude, and quiet excitement. The night had been more than fun. It had been transformative, illuminating aspects of her relationship and herself that she hadn't noticed in years. Daniel turned to her, a tender smile spreading across his face. "Thank you for being here," he said softly, "for sharing this night with me." Emma returned a smile, feeling a rush of warmth. "Thank you," she replied, "for reminding me that life still holds magic, no matter how long we've been together." Their hands met again, fingers lacing naturally. A gesture that said more than words ever could. Sarah and Luke prepared to leave, exchanging hugs and warm goodbyes. "We should do this again sometime," Sarah said, her eyes sparkling with sincerity. Emma felt a flicker of longing, knowing that she and Daniel had experienced something rare and valuable, a night that rekindled curiosity, tenderness, and joy. As the younger couple disappeared into the quiet streets, the terrace felt still, but the warmth lingered.